Okay, so I'm going to talk about the Lies of P game, and there's a lot of problems with the Lies of P game. There's small problems, but I'm going to explain something, right? In the Lies of P, we have already experienced, if you've played the demo, we've already experienced most of what Lies of P has to offer if you've played games to any degree over the past 20 years. Lies of P is a game where you go up, you spam the X button. If you've played any of the Naruto games, if you've played any of the Dragon Ball Z games, right? Like, there's a lot of games that if you've played games where you just press X a bunch, you've already played Lies of P to a degree. And there's certain things about the Lies of P game that they don't have that Dark Souls has had in almost every version of the game. Like going to the edge and doing drop attacks. Like you can't do it in Lies of P. The Lies of P game also doesn't have different other hand weapons. So you end up using one weapon at a time in a game that's trying to be like Dark Souls, which is pretty fucking bad. Like, it's pretty bad in a game that's trying to copy Dark Souls. I really forgot all of the buttons. Hold up. So, in a game that's trying to be like Dark Souls, it's very bad for them to be uh not having stuff that Dark Souls has already solved the problem of. Right? Like there's a lot of things that it just like you can backstab in the Lies of P game, right? But it doesn't always work. You have to wait until this little thing is glowing. Till your indicator is glowing and then you can do your backstab. It doesn't work properly in Lies of P. So you just can't always backstab. And then in Lies of P, the stamina system exists, but not really because you can attack so often. You can attack so often that it doesn't really matter that you fucking have the system of being able to what you call it, of being able to have your stamina, consumed. It just makes no sense. It's like they have roll. It's like Dark Souls, but with heavy training wheels. Because even when you die, you don't lose all the points that you had in the Lies of P game. When you die, you just restart basically with half of the amount that you had before. So on top of you not really having a penalty anymore, you're getting a softened penalty. Like everything in Lies of P is a softened version play video games and you haven't played other video games. So I was just playing a little bit of Elden Ring because I like Elden Ring, you know what I mean? So I was just like, I was thinking something that has relevance. I should play that for the video. But Lies of P is more on par with this game than it is Dark Souls. This game is like taking Diablo and saying, hey, we'll make this very easy for you. But this game has its own skill ceilings. This game also has a very large amount of content. Comparing this to the Lies of P game makes sense because this is a version of a game that came after another version of a game, right? But in terms of the quality of the game, it doesn't make sense because Lies of P is just that trash. Lies of P doesn't even give you this amount of content to start with, right? Like, here we have many things that we have to learn how to use. We have potions, abilities, we have to learn how to navigate the character through these enemies. In Lies of P, it starts you off. It gives you the potions. It doesn't really give you abilities per se because the abilities you start with are just attacks. So it gives you alternate attacks. And then you have to play into the game for like 2-3 hours before you get to the point where you start using abilities. So the big problem with Lies of P is that it's starting you off with you unable to know all of the content of the game at least halfway. Like, it's starting you with what I think is like 70 to 80% of the content, but it seems like less because of how fucking simple it is. And it's bad in this case because they're basically saying, hey, we want our game to flop by not making more fucking content in the game. Why would you make a game, you design a game that is another version of another game, but you don't add anything new to it? The one thing that they have that is new is the Pinocchio machine puppet arm thing. But that's not new if you've played Sekiro. Right? Like, Sekiro has the, what is it called in Sekiro? The prosthetic. So, they literally took the whole prosthetic idea. It's like, it's ridiculous how much, because this game, if this game gets played by a lot of people, they're going to get to, everyone who plays the game is going to get to a point where they're like, how comes there's not more content? I guarantee everyone who plays the game once it launches is going to have that question. Because here's the problem, right? Like, we've already seen Dark Souls, we've already played games like Dark Souls. We've already played games better and all these other things. So why isn't it coming out trying to hit those marks that Dark Souls has already set in terms of content? Right? Like you come out, you played Dark Souls, and Dark Souls has armor, Dark Souls has all these different things, and they're launching their game saying it's a Souls-like, but there's no fucking customization to a large degree. You can't even make your own Pinocchio. Right? Like you can't even make your own version of Pinocchio. In almost every Dark Souls game, you can make your own version of the Dark Souls person. So it becomes like comparing this game to Dark Souls is just developers being lazy, right? Like it's not actually like Dark Souls. It just takes the gameplay mechanics, and it doesn't really take all of them. It takes like the dying mechanic. It takes uh the parrying mechanic, but from a Souls-like, right? So it takes it from Sekiro instead. But it doesn't really take it from that game because it's a shittier version. Right, like it just becomes this big annoyance of like they're not doing anything special. They're not doing anything new except for trying to turn Pinocchio into some type of story arc. That's the only new thing they're doing. No one gives a shit about Pinocchio. Like, this is actually a horrible story. It's not a good story. So in that regards, they're just not doing anything special that's new. They're doing something lame that's new. And it's like they're doing something old in a lame way to make it seem new. Because Pinocchio's an old ass story. I used to wonder why there wasn't like what is that thing where they go up the hill and they fall down like Jack and Jill? Yeah, I used to wonder why they didn't make games and television shows of some of these. But it's because people are stupid. Like, it's hard to take a story or something that's good already and represent it in a interesting way if you're stupid. Because I could break down to you how they could make a good Jack and Jill game, right? It could be a story where there's fucking demons on a hill or some shit. And people need to go to this well so that they can get the demons to stop coming out the fucking well. So what people do is they basically contact angels and shit, right? And then one of the angels takes them to the well and tries to kill the demons that come out. But you have to fight the fucking angel for the angel to be like, oh yeah, you're worthy of me helping you. And it's like, this is already a better version than Lies of P's take on Pinocchio. So they can't even do an interesting take on Pinocchio. You know what I mean? Like, it just... it just becomes like, bro, this game is going to flop because it's bad. Like, they're not trying hard enough to make it good. On top of the fact that what they're trying to make good, what they're trying to make new and interesting, isn't, like, the Pinocchio story is just a story to get people to stop lying. Like, it's not a fucking top tier fucking story. Everyone's like, oh man, I remember back when I was little, I used to love the Pinocchio story. Like, Pinocchio's not one of those types of things. Right, like, no one has fucking nostalgia of Pinocchio. Unless you watched that Disney Channel version of Pinocchio. But that was so bad that no one fucking remembers that. They remember Little Mermaid and shit. But it just becomes this puzzle of like these people are stupid. Like, otherwise, they wouldn't be developing a Pinocchio game. They would be developing some fucking, I don't know what it would be called.
Got a job for you. You willing?
Oh, they would be developing something called fucking uh embodied puppet or some shit. And the game would be all about this disease that fucking people needed to start changing their bodies, and then some black magic people started fucking turning themselves into puppets and shit. And then fucking everything was about lying or telling the truth. You know what I mean? Like they would have some interesting fucking take on this game. They would have some type of more interesting take on this game than let's just run around as Pinocchio and fuck, what else should we do? You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm getting out of this. Because there's a lot of shit that they didn't develop properly in terms of a Dark Souls game. Right, like there's all these things in Dark Souls like having guilds and having a bunch of characters that you do missions for. There's like a lot of shit is missing from this game in terms of, you know, the atmosphere and all this shit. Like what I'm wondering now is like how will they make a second game? Do they even plan on making a second game? And it's like how would they do that for this game? Because it's pretty bad. It's a pretty bad version of everything that they're trying to design. Right, I wouldn't call, right, like I don't think anyone 5 years from now is gonna be like, oh man, Lies of P was the best fucking game I ever played. You know what I mean? That's the whole goal and the point sometimes with designing games, is to get people to choose that game over another game. And I really don't see Lies of P being that for anybody. I don't think anyone's going to look at Elden Ring, see that you have horses running around and shit, all the magic abilities, and be like, you know what? You know what? I'm getting Lies of P instead. Maybe people who beaten Elden Ring and Dark Souls and they're like, I just want another game. And like they might try Lies of P. You know, actually calling it L's of P makes hella sense. The L's of P. But fucking, it's disappointing all of the time with current generation of gaming, because there used to be a point in time where you would get new releases and interesting games. Now we just get new releases of old interesting games. And then we realize like, oh, they didn't change anything about the game. So this is the exact same game, higher graphics. This is the exact same game, new location, right? Like it's not fucking, right? Like the fucking L's of P game is not this. It's not this fucking deep dive into the Pinocchio land. It's fucking our Dark Souls take on it. Like it's, I'm pretty sure that the story is gonna do like the bare fucking minimum. You're not going to be playing the L's of P game and be like, oh man, I cried at this one point of the game. It was so fucking sad. You had to fucking lie on this person and they would die, or you would tell the truth and you would have to kill them, and it was really sad. Like there's no shit, I highly doubt there's gonna be shit like that in the game. I highly doubt that the game's gonna have memorable shit. The story might be interesting, but there's not going to be much that's gonna make you fucking play L's of P over watching the new season of Naruto. You know what I mean? Like, like I highly doubt that this game won't just flop because it's a mediocre version of a game, and it's a mediocre retelling of a story. And the thing is that they're not even really telling the Pinocchio story over, they're telling their version of the Pinocchio story. So that means that it could be boring as fuck. That means that it could literally be the most boring, lame version of the fucking Pinocchio story. You know how lame that is? Oh, fucking, this is Pinocchio, but, we came up with like 20 cutscenes and sprinkled it across the game. So you're not even getting a full in-depth version of a Pinocchio story. And he was like, that's so fucking lame, actually. That has to be the lamest fucking idea for a game. That's actually what they... That's probably actually what they did in the fucking studio. They're like, so what's a story that no one knows a lot about anymore because it's too old for anyone to know anything about it? Oh, Pinocchio. And they're like, oh, fuck, yes, let's make a game about that. Like, it really feels like that's a possibility with this game. Like, it actually feels like a possibility that they could have just been sitting there looking for any random idea. And someone was like, yo, what if we do Pinocchio? Who knows Pinocchio? Right? It's like, you're not going to upset anybody with the Pinocchio story being taken out of context. Because no one gives a shit about the Pinocchio. Most people don't even know the Pinocchio story. The Pinocchio story is actually a weird story anyways. It's not a, like... It's like a grown man fucking... Like, it's a weird story. Grown man turns a kid into a fucking... I think it was a witch or some shit, but they turned a kid into a fucking puppet for lying. And then it's like... It's a really dumb story. It's one of those games that fucking people might be like, hey, you remember when that game came out as a fucking joke? Because no one asked for this Lies of P game. Like, that's the most baffling part. No one was sitting down like, god damn, I wish Pinocchio had a little more representation in the media. Right? It's like, no one's sad that fucking Pinocchio doesn't become more talked about. Who gives a shit? It's a story about lying. Literally. Pinocchio is literally a story you tell to kids so that they don't lie too much. And when you see people like Logan Paul, like, you know that no one in our generation gives a fuck about the Pinocchio story. Right? You see stuff like, what is it called? The cryptocurrency. Like, no one gives a shit about the Pinocchio story in our generation. If you say you care about the Pinocchio story, odds are you're lying. Like, that's how little anyone cares about the fucking... That's how little anyone actually cares about the Pinocchio story. That if you say that you do care a lot about the Pinocchio story, you're probably lying. And that's a great joke. Because the whole Pinocchio story, the whole point of it is to get people to not want to lie. So it just proves that the story doesn't do its job. It doesn't do its intended purpose. Because that's not how you solve the problem of liars. You don't tell them stories. Because I like the reality of lying is that lying is telling stories. Like lying is sitting down and just making some shit up that doesn't exist about a situation that existed. At the end of the day, telling someone a story about lying actually gives them the tools to lie better, especially if the story is good. That's my take on how dumb the Pinocchio story is. It just gives people who actually like lying better tools for lying. Because now they have shit to watch out for when they're lying. Right? Now they have ideas, they have plans. That's how bad the Pinocchio story is. That it can't even solve the problem of teaching children not to lie. I'm pretty sure that people care so little about the Pinocchio story that most people don't even know that Pinocchio is about a kid that lies and his nose grows. That's the whole point of the story. That's the whole that's the whole the lore, the draw in, you know, that's the whole thing that makes it interesting. And I'm pretty sure most people in our generation don't know that. Most people don't know, like, oh yeah, fucking, what's Pinocchio? Oh, I know Pinocchio. I saw Pinocchio. I loved Pinocchio. You know what I mean? No one's out here going crazy like they just saw fucking Miley Cyrus when they see Pinocchio related shit. No one's out here fucking like, you wanna meet Drake? No, I wanna see fucking Pinocchio. Oh my god, bro, is this going to kill me? This is the exact same type of mechanic fucking the game I'm talking about does. It has enemies that just show the fuck up and start murdering you. Look at this shit. I have to run away right now. I'm trying to get this motherfucker stuck on something. I'm going to die. Okay, so I died just like this fucking story for this game is. I mean, this is just like this fucking story is going to flop. This game is going to flop. It's really annoying that that yellow fucking thing starts running around because you have those fucking blood arrows that fucking drain your fucking health. Oh my god. This is why you get stuck in this game. Because they just throw ridiculous bullshit at you sometimes. Wait, I need to go back so I can delete this character and start again. But that's the end of this video because I died. I'm just going to create this character over. What I've been trying to do is I've been trying to get each one of these characters to like level 20. And then I start another character because I want to have all these characters. All of the different types of characters. And right now I'm working on the fucking shadow guy. I had one at level 33, then I fucking died because I tried to do one of their stupid fucking leagues. I hate the fucking leagues in this game. Because they're so useless. Like, you can't go back and do lower level leagues sometimes. Sometimes you have to do the higher level league, and then you do the higher level league, and the higher level league fucking kills you. Because fucking, it's stupid. You get in there and you get fucking one shot, and it's like, holy shit. It's like, that's the problem with this game. You have to fucking scale your character up before you do anything. Like, just now, if I had fucking scaled up, got armor and shit, I probably wouldn't have died. because it only gives you ridiculous shit that just kills you like that when you're a little bit lower level. That's how this game is designed. And it's not even level that it's determined off of. It's your fucking gear. You can actually exploit that system to get better shit. Like, I could show you proof that I did this once. I exploited it to get some better shit. Hold on. That's what I'm going to do next. I exploited it to get some better shit because I know how the game's RNG works. It works really fucking stupid. I'm going to show off the fucking stupid items that I got. I have them in the fucking in the bank.
Is it possible to murder someone who's already dead?
So if anyone doesn't know, the way you get through the tutorial as fast as fucking possible is to just run to the shore. Right? Like that's how you get through this. Sometimes it'll RNG a location that blocks you off though. But it's very rare for that to happen. I've had that happen a couple times. And I've done this like maybe 300 times. I haven't done this a lot. And that's over the course of like 10 years, mind you. My controller was just fucking up, I think.
Nice not being dead yet.
Okay, so after you have died a few times, right? And then you also need to have a higher rarity on your drop rate for your armor. And then you also need to have a full inventory. But I had gotten fucking 3 items all at once that spawned in with white shit on it. You see these white circles? I had gotten 3 items all at once. Now, these are not that useful, but you can upgrade these and make them better weapons. And that is useful while you're at these low levels. Because it allows you to just slot literally fucking anything that you want. These actually all dropped at the exact same time. All 3 of them. It was a very lucky drop.
I saw what you did to Hillicat. Lion Eyes Watch.
Like, I could literally use those to just make sure my lower level characters can always get through the fucking tutorial area. But it's depth like that, everything I just fucking explained, that does not exist and never will exist in the Lies of P franchise. Do you know what I mean?
Fine with
It's just another reason not to get the game. But yeah, that's what I wanted to show, and I'm going to whatchamacallit, I'm going to stop the recording and go straight to YouTube. I'm going to upload this one straight to YouTube. It's going to be called Why Lies of P Will Flop. I'm pretty sure L's of P will flop hard as shit. Because it just doesn't do anything unique, it doesn't do anything interesting, it doesn't do anything new, it doesn't do everything that is the bare minimum of a Dark Souls game. Like, you might as well buy Code Vein. It's on sale for $11.99 right now. And it has every feature that fucking Lies of P has. It has literally every feature. Except guess what? You get to use blood and shit. You're basically a vampire. Lies of P doesn't even slightly accomplish that.